Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet SkyFF, the world where everything revolves around £50,000. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
Wednesday, international break, so it's nice and a bit of a lull because there are no price changes in Sky Fantasy Football. But before we started the show, you said, I made 4 transfers at the weekend. What happened? You got like trigger happy or something?
A little bit.
Didn't expect you to make 4. I was going to make 2. I missed the deadline on Saturday for 1. Didn't miss the captaincy, just to be clear. Just missed the transfer deadline.
Yeah.
So you made 4. Did you have a lot of players not playing at the weekend?
No, not overly. I obviously had Mo Salah. I had Dalot in the squad and Alisson in the squad. So I was going into the weekend with without 3. I still made 4 transfers. Yeah. So let's all have a laugh because we can do this here. So I made 4 transfers for a combined total of 6 points.
Ouch.
Despite having quite a good week, actually, which I'll come back to. So I bought Nico Williams on Friday for Dalot. I mean, that's fairly straightforward. It was the plan move I was going to make on the Monday night when Forest played Leeds, or were meant to. So still went ahead with that move. Obviously took the captaincy of Paulinho and put it on Nico Williams, didn't I? For an absolute stinker of 0. Didn't even pick up 1 tackle in the match. 0 tackles for Nico Williams.
3 zeros in a row.
I know.
he's the master of 0 points in this game.
That said, it's only Paulinho himself who's made more tackles than Nico Williams so far in the Premier League this season. So you could look at it and rage it and go, oh my God, I've got to get rid of it. But actually, particularly the Villa fixture on Monday the 10th, I think there could still be something there for him, actually. So I bought Nico Williams Friday.
That's as long as he's staying for me, yeah. After that, he's gone.
Well, no, I think he'll stay for me up to the Brighton game, I think, Tuesday the 18th.
Okay.
That's your kind of departure point. So there's 4 more games.
To be fair, I hadn't actually looked at when I'm selling him. After that Villa game, he is expendable at any given moment. He's walking a tightrope as Nico Williams.
Absolutely. But then you could argue once you've gone that point far, there's only maximum of 5 fixtures for any other team. Should you just keep him till the end? And that may be a decision to be made then. But I would look up to the Brighton game. Still 4 more games. Still gains over others, certainly. So look, he's in, fine. He's done nothing so far. But that was no regrets on that transfer. I was going to make it. I decided on Saturday morning to buy Nick Pope for Alisson, mainly for money reasons for future moves. But looking at it and deciding that Alisson was certainly expendable for me. Also making the decision that I was going to go Tony rather than Matty Ryan, because that would have been another way of doing it, right? Just go Matty Ryan on the Sunday. Decided I didn't want to go that route because I didn't want Matty Ryan till overhaul period. Wanted to go with Nick Pope as I think the outstanding option. Not that I think I'll ever captain him, but I just think arguably best pound for pound goalkeeper in many fantasy formats at the moment. So I went with Nick Pope, 2-pointer, blind him. Brought him in for Alisson, obviously. Yeah. And then I made 2 more changes on the Sunday, which was slightly different to the plan. I'd been debating, like many, the Harry Kane to Ivan Toney move, which I did make. Effective 5 for 2 if you include the captaincy for the Friday night game with Brentford, and that's it. Just intending to keep him to that Friday night, move him straight back either to Kane on the Saturday, or more of an option for me at the moment might even be to come down to Mitrovic and captain him at home to Bournemouth on Saturday the 15th. And I also bought Jared Bowen, Suj.
Same as me.
You actually made a transfer, did you?
I made one transfer,
good.
Yeah.
But the plan was to buy him for Eric Dyer. But I changed that, part with the additional money that I had available, and I sold Boubacar Kamara, who had got an injury playing for Villa on the Friday night, and Gerrard's comments were, he's going to go for a scan, it doesn't look great, was react now, as far as I was concerned. So I sold Kamara for Bowen. So between Tony, Bowen, Pope and captain Nico Williams, 6 points from the 4 transfers. The good news is the rest of my team did pretty well this week. So Haaland captain Saturday for 18, Jesus captain Sunday for 18.
Same as me.
Saliba's 14, Cancelo.
Yeah, he's the one that's the difference between us then.
Cancelo 12, the other one as well, Suj, Eric Dyer 10.
Yeah, I had his 10.
Harry Kane 10, Paulinho 9, and Kamara, despite only playing 44 minutes, tackle tier, 4-pointer on the Friday night.
Yeah, so your 20 points that you got up on me is Saliba and Kamara, basically. Because the only other points on top of what you described there that I got was 1 for Rodri, 2 for David Raya, which...
How have you not got Saliba of all them transfers you've got available?
Just never had the entry point, really, to get to him.
I
or
did
who
buy
to
him on
lose.
Sunday.
Yeah, they go into...
A more
Tottenham
difficult run, I hear
Liverpool now. There's every chance I will end up with Saliba, but not before Tottenham and Liverpool. I'm not going in before those two.
Whatever you haven't got Arsenal, you don't go back probably now till Sunday the 23rd when they play Southampton.
Yep, correct.
Or arguably don't go back at all at this stage. You wouldn't go Sunday the 16th when they play Leeds because they haven't got the midweek fixture now. That doesn't make sense. You'd wait the extra week, I believe. Okay, up to about 3K or so.
What's your overall points total if you click on leaderboard now?
So I will tell you, Suj, I feel like I might have snuck slightly ahead of you. I'm on 595.
Yeah, I'm on 591.
That said, I've used 10 more transfers than you, I believe.
I have used only 3 now. I made one move. I missed. I was going to move from Van Dijk to Trippier on Saturday. That was the move I had in mind. And then I was going to move from Caicedo to Bowen. I missed it. Like I finished at the gym at 11:30. I'm driving home and I'm like, it's 12:30 kickoff. It's 12:30 kickoff. It's fine. I've got an hour. I'll be home in 15 minutes. Got home and my wife started asking me about something to do with my son's homework, something. I thought, look, after all of that conversation, I haven't had a shower since I've finished training. In the shower, I'm like, fuck, deadline. Missed it. And never mind. It wasn't like, I didn't miss the captaincy. It was just moving from Van Dijk to Trippier. And I wasn't overly worried because there's every chance I'll captain Van Dijk this Saturday, home to Wolves.
Next Saturday. I know what you mean. Yep.
Yeah, sorry. The next match day. So I let that go. But it meant that I couldn't move from Caicedo to Bowen because I didn't have enough money. Because Van Dijk to Trippier was obviously going to free me up a bit of money. So in the end, I made the move from Eric Dyer to Jared Bowen on the Sunday, which didn't work out well. But I did want Bowen as an alternative captaincy option in a few days, should I need to or feel like I want to use it. And rather than go back for Eric Dyer for perhaps the Everton game onwards for Spurs, I'll go back to Romero because he's cheaper. What's his state? Is he fit?
Yeah, I think he was just rotated at the weekend. He didn't play well in Lisbon last week.
Yeah, but in this game, he's a good asset at 7.8 or whatever he costs.
Oh, yeah, Romero will be first choice. I think what I would say is if just briefly on Romero versus Dyer, Dyer is always going to play. Romero is going to play 90% of the time. Yeah. That's all I would say.
I think that's worth the saving on the money.
I would agree. That said, Dyer's now on 2 goals this season. And Tottenham's defensive record, i.e. goals conceded, doesn't actually look any better with Romero than without.
No.
Interestingly. But I would say, yes, generally, if you were going to go and buy a new, say for that Everton day, perhaps if you're coming off Brighton versus Brentford from the night before, then yes, I would go into Romero. That said, you're coming into a point there, if that's where you go back, Saturday the 15th, where you've got 6 games left for Tottenham, and that includes Manchester United, Newcastle and Liverpool. So, but there are good fixtures, also Everton, Bournemouth, Leeds. So, depends how you interpret that. I think the decision I come to is that one Saturday the 15th, Tottenham look clear standout when they're at home to Everton. Everton defensively, as you saw at the weekend, so are not doing too badly at the moment.
Yep.
Kane, yes, of course, is the outstanding captaincy that day, but Mitrovic against Bournemouth is a competitive alternative, and I don't think I captain Kane otherwise for what's left. So that's my intention probably at the moment is not to go back to Harry.
Right.
Which is dangerous.
I have you got transfer plans then for the next few weeks?
I've got open idea. I mean, let's
talk about one particular acute point that we both have. Paulinho's now suspended for the next Newcastle home game. You're just going to ride it out?
100%.
Yeah, I'm the same.
100%.
Can't see how we can do anything else.
If you were going to sell him, you should have sold him for someone on the Saturday or the Sunday.
Correct.
Gone.
Right, so Paulinho, we're riding out the suspension.
There was a case that, yes, you could. There was a few teams you could have just about squeezed a 3-for-1 out of which Brentford would have been one, for example. But No thought. That with that, you've got a player that you 100% do not want to get rid of. He's going to miss one game.
And like Eric Dyer, he scored 2 goals this season already as well, surprisingly.
But that's a bonus. This is, it was a great goal we got Friday night as well. We haven't expected this. No, 100% the advice with Paulinho would be to keep. And for those who don't have, the advice would be buy him on Sunday the 9th when Fulham go to West Ham. That was the first kind of open entry point. I know there's a few obviously bought for the Forest game correctly as well, and we'll be delighted with that. It's interesting reflecting on that, moving the captaincy to Nico Williams. And you think back on it, you think, what are you doing, James? What are you doing? Not the buying Nico Williams, fine. The actual moving of the captaincy from Paulinho to Nico Williams. My decision was based on, I thought Williams' ceiling was higher, right? Potential tackle tier, potential clean sheet. Potentially takes him into double figures. Paulinho scored and only hit a 9, right? So that was the thinking. But how many times have we all been there where we've bought a player and moved the captaincy? So like, I didn't do that on Sunday. Not that I wanted to.
You bought him for captaincy, Nico Williams?
No, well, I bought him for what's coming up. In terms of the cover for captaincies, the Leicester game, the Villa game, potentially even the Brighton game, as I don't own any Crystal Palace, but that's probably something we'll speak about in a second, where I think most people are going to go and invest in the Eagles. I didn't move the captaincy on Sunday from Jesus to Bowen, for example. Why did I deem it so necessary? It's almost like you get suckered in. Yep. It's a psychological, because you made the transfer. If I put the captaincy on him as well, it justifies the transfer even more. And that's not... When you've got a 50-50 like that, I think on reflection, rather than the justifying the transfer, you've almost cancelled out the transfer by taking the captaincy off Paulinho, it feels like. I mean, that alone might make it not worth it. Williams might not get me 9 points over the next 3 or 4 games, and I've lost that moving it off Paulinho. There you go. Shit happens.
Other plans?
Yeah, Leicester. Obviously have this game against Forest on Monday the 3rd. And I don't think anybody's going to be in any particular disagreement. But having watched them up close at the weekends, it's clearly going by James Maddison.
Yeah, I'm in that boat. I'm going to sell Jesus for Maddison.
For a lot of people, they're possibly going to be in a position where they're in a financial difficulty to do it. There's one obvious move, which actually I don't need to go down this more difficult route, but I'm probably going to anyway, is Jesus, if you have.
That's who I'm selling.
To Maddison. Jesus is in 77% of the top 1,000. I think we're getting towards the period where we can start using that figure now. Jesus to Maddison, 0.2 in the bank. Make the move on Monday the 3rd. You still keep Jesus for Saturday the 1st against Tottenham. You miss Jesus against Liverpool, Leeds. You'd miss Southampton as well if you were coming straight back from Maddison, but you can always chain it a different way. You'd keep Maddison for Man City at home Saturday 29th, go back for Sunday the 30th, Arsenal at home to Nottingham Forest. But that is such an obvious move. It's going to be hugely popular because they're at similar values. And it also opens up things like where people say had Jesus, Haaland and Kane, which is a great front three to have. It opens up the game for people like Mitrovic, I think, by making that sort of move as well. So there's so many reasons why I think that's the right sort of move. I could look at it and go, I've made a mistake with Bowen. Get rid straight away, because obviously West Ham play Saturday against Wolves. I think he's got to stay for people like me and you, Suj, who have gone in. For those who haven't, he's still a player that I think is going to come back round as a consideration. Exactly what you said, alternatives. Sunday the 9th, West Ham have Fulham at home. Arsenal play Liverpool. United go to Everton. Palace have got Leeds at home. It mightn't be Palace. Even the likes of Zaha when it comes round, possibly, rather than Bowen. The Sunday the 16th, they go to Southampton. That's when Liverpool, Man City play each other. Arsenal go to Leeds. Chelsea go to Villa. He's a live option for that week as well. Then they go to Liverpool following Wednesday. Obviously wouldn't captain. Then you've got the Monday night game against Bournemouth, where, to be honest, my take would still be if West Ham were playing Bournemouth this coming Monday, we'd still sit here and say bye Jared Bowen.
Correct.
Because of the capability of the player, I think would still be the advice. From there, because it's a Monday night game, he's staying till the end.
Yeah.
I think.
It's two home games at the end there.
Which is in fairness, is really dangerous for a player who he's out of form and clearly not returning at the moment. Absolutely. And this is one of the things I debated was, look, can you leave this, James, and wait for the Fulham, Southampton or Bournemouth fixtures? And those who've waited, I think, have done the right thing, absolutely. Give yourself some more space, time. My take was get on it early. This is the player I know I'm going to want. Try and get ahead of it, of many people. That's not worked, that's fine. But I think Maddison in for Jesus, Monday the 3rd, will be hugely popular. That's my intended move. That would be my only intended move for the forthcoming weekend after the internationals. That said, there's every chance something will happen in internationals that forces different things. Following that, it's all eyes on Crystal Palace Sunday the 9th for me. Zaha is going to be popular as well, 8.5. I've got Eric Dyer still sitting there, having not sold at the weekend. So again, very similar value. Dyer to Zaha makes sense. Anderson and Gay be very much on radar as well. I think a lot might end up going to Palace, and I'd highly recommend it actually for those who have got excessive transfers left like yourself, Suj. I really would go Zaha and an Anderson or Gay, whatever your personal pick is, because from Leeds, you've got Leeds, Leicester, Wolves, Everton, Southampton, West Ham, Nottingham Forest run to the end. And there are a few, like that Leeds fixture, like particularly the Wolves game on Tuesday the 18th, where a Palace player is even captainable. So you've got the combination of coverage, good fixtures. There's a lot of reasons to like Palace for that Leeds fixture on Sunday the 9th. Beyond that, I've not got too much in my thought process other than, like I said, it's probably Tony. I think it's going to be back to Mitrovic Saturday the 15th. I've already used more transfers than I should have, but hey-ho.
Yep. I have 2 transfers planned, and they're exactly what you said there. I'm going to be going from Jesus to Maddison for the Forest game on the Monday. I'll captain Maddison over Nico Williams, obviously, that day, and I'll keep him for Bournemouth. And then on Sunday the 9th, my mum's birthday, I'll be moving to Zaha for the Leeds game, and I'll keep Zaha all the way through. There's every chance he'll stay till the end for me. Those are the only 2 transfers I have planned. Now, if I make that move, James, I have no money. So any other moves, so my squad would look like, once we get to that Zaha move, Raya in goal. He's not going anywhere because I want him for captaincy coverage for the Brighton game. But I'm not interested in making a goalkeeper move at this point anyway. Nico Williams, Cancelo and Van Dijk. Paulinho, Rodri, Caicedo, Bowen, Zaha. Can't move Bowen on because of the game that I want to captain him against Bournemouth on the Monday night.
Well, you can move him and come back to him.
Yeah. And then Haaland and Kane. I've got all captaincy covered. The player that I'm missing is Salah for any captaincy coverage. But any day that Salah plays, I can go against him. The players that I'd want to move on, Nico Williams and Caicedo, I don't have any money to get anywhere better. Like, I don't have enough money to get to Anderson or Gahey. So at that point, I need to make a decision about a sacrifice somewhere. And it might be Harry Kane, because if I'm not captaining him, then it might be that I need to downgrade him to get the money to be able to make some upgrades elsewhere that will make it worth it. So any other moves, bar that Maddison, Zaha, daisy chain that I have planned, require me to make a sacrifice somewhere. I have to decide what I'm going to do with that.
Let's look at this with Kane, and I think it's an interesting talking point for the following weekend. Those have potentially come off after the Arsenal game, or you can also come off the Brighton game. But I think most will hold who still have because of the Saturday the 15th fixtures. So Saturday the 1st, I think probably Liverpool versus Brighton probably stands out for captaincy. I would, as I've said last week on this pod, I'd rather captain Jesus in the North London derby than Kane, would be my take at the moment. It's worth saying as well, on that potential Jesus to Maddison, Jesus gets booked in the North London derby, he's 5th booking as well, even more reason to consider that sort of move. Saturday the 8th, Tottenham go to Brighton. Haaland's got Southampton, or Cancelo's got Southampton at home, and you see the City team that day, so that's not a debate. Saturday the 15th, Tottenham are best at home to Everton, but there are competitive options like Mitrovic at home to Bournemouth, arguably even Maddison and Zaha against each other, Leicester against Crystal Palace. So there are alternatives, but yes, I would agree that one, Tottenham's the best, Saturday the 15th. Wednesday the 19th, it would be a no when they go to United. Liverpool have got West Ham at home. Chelsea go to Brentford, would both be better options in my opinion.
Even Pope at home to Everton, maybe, if you really
possibly,
fancy that.
yeah. Sunday the 23rd, you make a case that Kane might be best for Newcastle at home. You've got Arsenal at Southampton as an alternative. You've got Fulham at Leeds if you have Mitrovic. There are alternatives, certainly. But I think the only alternative to Kane really on that Sunday would be Arsenal. Of course, you could go back and buy Kane on the Sunday. If you think, oh, shit. If I got to that point and I thought, do you know what? I really do want to captain Kane for Sunday the 23rd at home to Newcastle. It's an entry point, isn't it? I can do that. But to make that justifiable, I think because of his value, I'd want another captaincy. Bournemouth away Saturday the 29th. You've got City at Leicester and you've got Liverpool home to Leeds. You can make the case for Harry, but you get to see the City team again at Leicester. Following week, Sunday the 6th, Tottenham play Liverpool, and we spoke last week about that day being really difficult and awkward for captaincy. There isn't a brilliant standout, but there are a lot of teams playing. And the final day, Saturday the 12th, Tottenham at home to Leeds, you see the City team at home to Brentford. So, it's definitely negotiable that you can go without Harry. It's Saturday the 15th is the scary one, and the way Everton are defending at the moment, I don't think it is that scary. He does have a very good historical record against them, as he does against Leicester.
Yep. The other one that I may sell is Rodri after the Southampton at home game, because they have Liverpool away and Brighton at home. But in that time, Palace have 4 games. I mean, if you go one game for 5 games, if I was to move off Rodri, I'm not expecting a huge amount in that Liverpool game, then Rodri to Anderson or Gahey frees me up about $1.5 million, which I can use elsewhere. So that's the other one that I want to get rid of. But Rodri, for me, is a very, very hard sell.
Consider if you come off, going back's difficult.
Yeah, it is until the overhaul period, but that's fine at that point. I've made that decision.
One of the reasons for going Maddison to Pope was the potential to open up the idea of a player like Rodri if I decide I want to go there.
When would you enter for Rodri?
To be honest, Sunday the 2nd. I'd go in for the Manchester United game.
Straight away.
So what I'm saying, if something happens over this international break that I can't see at the moment, then yeah, I'm very interested. So they don't feel like great entry points to Manchester derby or when City go to Liverpool on Sunday the 16th. But you should be consciously aware those brilliant last 4 fixtures for City, which with Brighton's managerial change might even look a little bit better now, that there isn't an entry point. They're always on first.
Yep.
So your final entry point for Man City really is that Liverpool game. And that doesn't really make sense because they don't play in the midweek afterwards. So just be conscious that if you come off your City, you might find it difficult to go back. It's worth saying, and there is even an argument for this, that after City play Southampton Saturday the 8th, you could make the case that you might not captain Haaland again until November the 5th. Now, I think I'm in a position with him at the moment where I'd almost captain him in every game. But Liverpool away, there's obviously alternatives. Brighton at home, Liverpool go to Forest that day is an alternative. And the day City go to Leicester, we've spoken about. Liverpool got Leeds at home and Kane goes to Bournemouth. So there are alternatives. The problem is if you come off after that Southampton game, and I think there's a case to do it, going back is brutally tough. You just have to sacrifice and go, fuck it, it's Erling Haaland this Saturday kickoff. I'll go back to him, fine. But you could. It's one way of looking at it. If you come off on that Saturday the 8th, miss Liverpool and Brighton maybe, you can nick 4 games of a few other players. There are a few you can nick, one of which is Liverpool.
Are you scared of being Salah-less and De Bruyne-less?
I've got Salah.
Oh, you have. So you've got cover there. I haven't got Salah and I haven't got De Bruyne.
Not bothered about KDB at the moment for this. I just think Cancelo and Haaland are more powerful than him in this game right now.
Didn't do anything at the weekend and still outscored him. He didn't get a goal or an assist. He didn't get any attacking returns.
He's got passing tier 1 and tackle tier 2.
So I should say no attacking returns and still managed to outscore Haaland.
That hasn't happened too much so far, but it is a cute reminder of what Cancelo is capable of. Yeah. Obviously, with the red card, it was a certainty that he was going to hit passing tier in that particular fixture.
Yeah. Cool. Anything from the weekend's games you want to chat about?
I say that, I just looked back, 64 passes, not that high, is it? A few pointers from the weekends. Few tackle numbers for Villa included Kamara in obviously 44 minutes. Dean, Ramsey and McGinn will win tackle tier 2. So was Southampton's Carl Walker-Peters. Southampton feel very, very avoidable in this at the moment. Fixture's not great. There is an entry point when they play West Ham Sunday the 16th, but they hold no interest. The only Forest player to pick up any form of tier against Fulham in that Friday night game was Dean Henderson, who got save tier 1. There was tier 2 passing for Diop and Adebayo. They had a huge number of passes in the first half, particularly in that fixture. As I said, only the 64 passes for Cancelo at Molineux on Saturday, despite Wolves' red card. I think the giveaway there is you look at other numbers like Bernardo Silva, 51. Mind you, Rodri only 57, Such. It's surprising, isn't it?
That's very low.
Wolves could have... I don't think City were asked in the second half. They didn't. they really didn't care, did they?
Yeah. Conserve energy.
I think there's a little bit of an anomaly. Akanji is 8 million. And I've seen people talk about him more and more. He's got in the team. He's playing quite well. I covered this quite a bit on the FPL podcast we did yesterday. It's just muddied at the moment. That actually under both game formats, I wouldn't consider anything but Cancelo at the moment, personally. I think Akanji, Aki, if it becomes clear, brilliant. It's not clear for me at the moment. For Wolves, I don't know what they're going to do at centre-back against West Ham. There's another reason to not shit yourself about Jared Bowen at the moment. I know Bradley Parker thinks Toti Gomez will come into the team for that. Some good passing numbers for Newcastle at the weekend included Trippier. Not one too often hit passing tier that did. All of the back four hit passing tier in that fixture. Shot tier 2 for Isak, which obviously included his penalty. It was a tackle tier for Gomes, who's normally in and around a lot of things. And from the Tottenham-Leicester game, did you know Danny Ward made 5 saves, Suj?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I saw that in FPL.
It didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
Tielemans and Maddison nearly at the full house, actually. Obviously, Maddison scored 3 shots on target for Maddison, 4 tackles, 43 passes. For Tielemans, 2 shots on target, 75 passes, 3 tackles. 3 of the back 4 picked up passing tier. This happens quite a lot against Tottenham. Again, it's something to just treat as a one-off. Højbjerg just scraped into passing tier for Tottenham as well. From the Sunday games, Ben White, the only Arsenal player to hit passing tier despite a very comfortable afternoon against Brentford. Saliba and Gabriel just outside. Sorry, I tell a lie. Thomas Partey hit passing tier 2 as well. Jesus hit shots on target. From the Everton game, I noticed Anthony Gordon hit tackle tier. He's also on 4 yellow cards worth avoiding. The only West Ham player to hit anything was Soufal tackle tier.
Yeah, unsurprising there. It's not worth covering off captaincy yet for the upcoming weekend because there's nothing this weekend. We can talk about that next weekend.
Oh, and Heung-min Son has had as many shots as he had completed passes.
3 passes, 3 shots.
4.
4 passes, 4 shots. Legend.
Got Sonny.
Should we look at some of the questions that we had on
let's do that.
Twitter? So, Darren, Auto Close. Is Trippier becoming a genuine Sky option?
No, I think, as just covered, I think the passing numbers for Newcastle last week against Bournemouth is a little bit of an anomaly and doesn't happen often. Didn't we look and did he not hit any tiers so far this season? I think
only
prior
last
to the weekend,
week,
wasn't it?
Yeah, only last week. Prior to that, it was no tier points. It was just clean sheets or the 1 goal.
It'd be a strong no for me. I think that again, it's another one. It's exactly the same as what I referenced for FPL yesterday. If you wanted to say a Newcastle Palace combination, it's Pope and Anderson, Gahey, not Gator and Trippier.
Yeah,
that would be my take on it at the moment.
What price is Pope? Just checking it.
7.1.
Yeah, I mean Trippier is 7.8. So in a strange way, he's cheaper than Anderson and cheaper than Gahey. But then obviously Pope is more expensive than Gator.
Trippier would be a no for me. He's also non-captainable. I literally don't see where That's always been the case with the way the fixtures dropped for Newcastle. There was never going to be a day where you looked at them for captaincy. I don't think. We have debated that Sunday 6th of November, you could say they have let's say the easiest on paper fixture away to Southampton, but you got so many big hitting alternatives that day. I think because it's away, you still wouldn't consider that. Admittedly, should you throw out an interesting one Wednesday the 19th, home to Everton, maybe, but I feel more comfortable if I was to do that on Pope than Trippier. And then I think that sums up your own conclusion on that. Trippier would be a no for me for this format.
Joe wants to know if moving Salah instead of Jesus to Maddison on the Monday night is viable. It means he can keep Jesus when they play Leeds and then jump back to Salah on the 19th of October, which is when they play West Ham. You miss Arsenal away and City at home for Jesus.
But then you could just miss...
You get Liverpool at home and Leeds away for Jesus.
No, I wouldn't do it that way around.
Yeah,
just keep Salah.
I mean, are you that desperate to keep Jesus for Leeds? I'm not convinced that that's the right thing to do. Using two transfers.
The only thing I could think is, I mean, no, it doesn't. No, I don't see doing it that way, to be honest. I'd do it the other way.
Yeah, agreed. Unless there's something that we're missing.
Thing is, as well, shit hits the fan as well, and oh my God, I can't get back to Salah for that Wednesday game. Well, Jesus ain't got another game. Then Salah plays Forest again before Jesus would play again. Just from a fixture logical, if you were to come off one of the two, I think you would come off Jesus, personally. And you've got more money in the bank if you change your mind about something.
And he's definitely going to get booked against Spurs.
And that
taking off his shirt.
And that what if he
scores his hat-trick goal? Nico,
there is that.
Jesus.
But what if he doesn't get booked against Spurs? It's another reason to get rid of Jesus rather than
ticking along.
Well, Jesus could get booked against Liverpool and then miss Leeds.
Yeah,
so,
Ron, has the Brentford versus Brighton game got skip written all over it?
He probably has now if you've got nothing, yeah.
Yeah, I've got two options. So, Raya, who's going to stick around,
and Caicedo, who you'll never get rid of.
I'm just trying to figure out when to get rid of him. The good thing with Brighton is that they play first every week. So,
yeah, all I would say is if you get to Friday the 14th and you think, do you know what, I do want a Brighton player here, you might find it running into two captaincies suddenly with Nottingham Forest at home on Tuesday the 18th. So I think like avoidables would be like people like Welbeck, who you couldn't guarantee would play both of those games, for example. But if you got there and you thought, do you know what, I want to captain Trossard today and I want to captain Trossard on Tuesday, hypothetically, or Lewis Dunk or whatever, then I don't mind that. If you're getting both, I think just for the one, in all honesty, Brentford versus Brighton has kind of got 1-1 feel about it, hasn't it? How much are you going to miss?
It's true. The thing with holding like Caicedo through is on that, if say a lot of people are going to go to Zaha, it's always nice to have a backup captaincy option. Say Zaha gets injured, you don't really, and it's a slight knock, then you might want to just move it. I like having a backup option on captaincy sometimes.
The problem with Brighton as well is, and the reason I highlight those two is before those two, Brentford and Forest, you got Liverpool and Tottenham beforehand, and you've got City and Chelsea afterwards. So it feels shit either side. Brentford, there's obvious come-offs if you go for Tony. Raya is probably a longer hold, but again, those fixtures aren't great. I think if you've got Brentford, you sell it immediately afterwards. If you've got Brighton, you probably hold it for the Forest game as well. Then you sell. Then you've got a choice of like 14 other teams. What you do with it, for example, you may even determine something like, it might sound not logical, but something like, if the money works, something like Trossard to Bowen when West Ham go to Liverpool actually on the Wednesday, or you could hold one more, take Trossard away to Man City and then buy Bowen ahead of the Bournemouth captaincy on the Monday night. So look at chaining things. It might be that it works. I think for most people though, who haven't already got something between the two teams, it will feel like a skip. But it might be we get there and we've got 2 games of knowledge of what Brighton are like with the new manager, and we go, yeah, maybe we should look at something for 2 games here.
Edmo, is moving from Kane to Son now looking feasible to free up the striker position for Tony or Mitro or Isak?
One game against Leicester City.
Yeah, I would have normally read that question as you're going sideways, don't do it. But I do understand what you're saying about the positions, right? You only have so many striker slots.
Yes, that's fair. That's part where I couldn't get to Mitrovic Friday night. The irony is that one didn't matter for me.
I'd rather it was daisy-chained in a way than going just straight from Kane to Son. There's got to be a way of maybe making it happen that gets you fixtures or some sort of game, surely.
Yeah, the sort of way you'd want to do, if you wanted to flip that around to open up the forward
like
positions.
Kane to Maddison to Son, for example.
Yeah,
after Arsenal.
if you could do something like, he would be an example, Kane to Maddison, again, I'm not saying the money would work here, but Kane to Maddison for the Monday night, and then after Brighton play Brentford, Tony to Son. Something like that.
Yeah,
but then
sense.
Presumably, maybe if you've got Kane, you probably haven't got Tony.
No, yeah.
But something
Figure
like
out a daisy chain rather than a straight Kane to Son move. Are there any other City defenders apart from Cancelo that are worth going for? You did mention Kanji.
For me, at the moment, it's a no. There's just not enough clarity on it.
Yeah, agreed.
A Kanji and Aki at 8 million could be unbelievable, but no clarity on it. Laporte is back in full training as well. It's a no for me at the moment.
Gordon Bell, we talked about Palace. He says, which is the best option? Palace double up, only defence, Gahey and Anderson, or only attacking, Zaha, or a double up in two areas. I'm looking at Anderson and Zaha, the two that I want to go for.
Yeah, it might end up only being one for me. This feels like one. It was like, and I bet a lot of people are thinking this, I've got my eye on Palace against Leeds, and now everybody's looking at it. And it does feel that way a little bit at Sky at the moment. That this feels like an obvious one, despite not necessary for captaincy. But I do think I'll want it for Tuesday the 18th at home to Wolves. So there's plenty of reason to go on. I struggled to make the case for Gay over Anderson when I think they'll score similarly, and Gay 0.1 more. So I think Anderson at the moment is in 0.5% of the top 1,000 teams. That won't be the case by the time that Wolves fixture comes round on Tuesday, October the 18th. And Zaha's ownership's not going to be massive either, 6.3% of the top 1,000. I think he will be hugely bought for that Sunday the 9th fixture against Leeds. So yeah, both, as I said earlier, I think for those who've got excessive transfer numbers left, sorry Suj, let me say excessive, it's a good thing. I would buy both. I really would buy both. Yeah. And I might even still buy both.
FPL Full and also Emre have similar questions around budget midfielders, James. Full has 4.5 million in the bank, and both have Kamara and Paulinho. Who to bring in for Kamara? Emre doesn't have 4.5 million in the bank budget. So is there an option if Kamara is ruled out long term? Is Caicedo one to maybe go to? I'm not feeling that particularly.
No, it's looking at moving the money, I think.
Free up some cash.
If you haven't got the money in the bank, then possibly something like Morgan Gibbs-White at Forest for this short little run of the single game days still possibly. You could even make a case Wilfried and Diddy at Leicester. I wouldn't be so keen on that, and I'm not overly keen on Gibbs-White either. I'd probably still make the case Nico Williams, unbelievably.
FPL Fool's got another question. Is Nico a problem? 3 consecutive zeros, although admittedly he might get a hat-trick against Leicester. He is the ultimate flirt.
It is a problem, but I still don't think it's justifiable to move that on if you've got. I don't think, in most cases, other than maybe like that with perhaps for Kamara owners, where he does the job where he comes in Monday night and you keep him for, it's going to be 4 for 2 over most teams in the league, and you've got captaincies in there as well. Certainly you'll have it for the Villa home fixture. And the reality is that's where it's at, Suj, at the moment. If he's 0 at Leicester, he's 0 at Wolves and 0 at Brighton, but gets me 30 at home to Villa.
It's worth it.
It's worth it. So, yeah, I think everyone who's gone the Forest route at the moment, I wouldn't be holding on to much hope at Leicester, despite how shocking they are at the moment, because they are still good offensively. Chances are it's Henderson or Williams, and you're really pinning your hopes on a 1-0 against Villa, basically. which is possible.
Yeah, with this one we can answer quickly. Darren, despite Leicester's poor form, they've been scoring goals, which is right. Any thoughts towards Tielemans and Maddison? Maddison, the preference, but Tielemans is okay. What price Tielemans?
I will tell you, Suj, but yeah, preference 100% would be to Maddison anyway. Tielemans is a full saving of $1 million. They have scored the same amount of points so far this season.
Any temptation towards Tielemans?
None.
Even on pens?
No, I mean, I guess he is, isn't he? If Vardy's not going to play, which we don't have the information for.
But no.
No, I think as well, Maddison doesn't normally hit tiers. So despite the fact he's hit the 2 tiers at Tottenham, those are actually his first tier points of the season. Whereas Tielemans, we've known, he kind of falls into that like James Ward-Prowse category where he'll tick over, he'll get bits of everything, being pass, shots, tackles all season long. And he's obviously had a bit of that at Tottenham at the weekend with passing tier and shot tier. Did he get shot tier for taking the penalty twice? I hope not.
No.
But he has had a few other bits. He had tackle and pass tier at Chelsea earlier this season. He had pass and shot tier against Brentford opening day. But I think when captaincy becomes involved in this, you want to go for the guy who's got the bigger ceiling, and that is James Maddison.
DB is looking at Bournemouth Neto, the goalkeeper James, as an option to replace Raya after the Brentford-Brighton game. But I'm not sure why. He says, I need a goalkeeper replacement, looking for a replacement, but I don't see any reason to want to come off Raya. By the time you've got to that point, it's only 4-5 games. You're only going to get one extra fixture. I don't know why you'd want to do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be massively keen on that. Alternative to Neto is 6.4. Alternative might be Bernd Leno at 6.6. But I think I'd arguably, if you really want to do that, and again, this might be subject to money in the bank, I'd arguably wait to the Sunday and go Flappy for 7 million. Might give you coverage for the Monday night game against Bournemouth as well. If you need to be down at that cheap area, I still think if you're coming off at that period, the answer would probably be just hold Raya. I don't think there's anything overly outstanding. I think, and I've said this on multiple things we've done, Gator at 6.7 I think is so dangerous. I mean, Johnston could get a game at any point, and it'll be shit like Wolves at home where you're thinking of captain there, I bet you. So I would avoid Gator, especially as well with Palace when there is definitely, I know they haven't shown it yet, but they've had really tough fixtures, Palace. The passing tiers could be there for Anderson and Gay over that period of fixtures. So Gator would be a void. Nah, I don't see anything great. You make a case it might be a decent entry point for Jordan Pickford, who, yes, would be walking straight into Tottenham. This is assuming he's back fit. But then the final run after that, Newcastle, Palace, Fulham, Leicester, Bournemouth, is not bad. But, I mean, unless you're doing it for captaincy, I don't see why you would. And the only keepers really you could make a case for to do that with then would be Gator, who I think is avoidable. Dean Henderson, you feel like you've already missed a moment, or then it's Fabianski. So Fabianski would arguably be the one if you could get up on the money.
A couple of simple ones. Gordon Bell, if you're looking at Forest v Villa in isolation,
Yep.
Skip it.
But I don't think you do, because no, you don't. It's because of the Brighton fixture on Tuesday the 18th. You get 3 for 1. You get Villa at home, Wolves away, Brighton away, with a captaincy is effective 4 for 1 over the majority of teams in the league. You could make a case to sell Mo Salah after Liverpool play Arsenal on Sunday the 9th, buy Nico Williams against Villa, captain him, have him for Wolves away, miss Salah against Man City, have Williams against Brighton and go back to Salah on Wednesday the 19th. That's how much of an extreme I would say, yes, I would buy a Nottingham Forest player on Monday the 10th rather than skip it.
Okay. Dragon SkyFF, can we restart the entire season as having a disaster? I'm afraid not. Not possible. FPL old man, mid-price striker, between now and the end of the World Cup, so the overhaul, who would you go for?
Oh, Mitrovic by miles.
There you go. And Michael Haaland this week had a decent Saturday with Maddison and Dyer, made 3 transfers to get rid of Collins, Odegaard, who he'd own for captaincy. Tony, Bowen and Raya in due to Arsenal fixtures. Dropped to 6k now. Have every captaincy covered for a while. Mini blip, or should I think about moving off? Oh, mini blip or question mark, sorry.
No, you've made the moves and made your team better. So as much as I took the piss out myself for the moves I made on Sunday, which have returned nothing, I'm much closer to what I want as a team. Yeah, absolutely. Just to go back to the previous one about forwards, I think Dominic Solanke is really interesting at 7.3, but he's only 0.4 cheaper than Mitrovic. I just couldn't make the case for that.
Last question again is Michael Haaland. He wants to know, he's thinking about coming off Rodri. The blank game week is edging him towards spending 9.1 elsewhere.
What was your expectations for Rodri away to Arsenal? That's what I'd ask. Okay, yes, there's a blank. But actually the fact that Man City play on the Sunday the weekend before and Saturday the weekend after means it doesn't actually feel like there's too much of a blank. It's just one less fixture. What was your expectations Arsenal away? Now, of course, Rodri could hit passing tier, he could hit tackle tier. The sort of fixture could blank in. So I wouldn't stress about that too much. I wouldn't be, they're not playing Arsenal, that's the reason to make a transfer. If that's the reason, don't do it.
Okay, makes sense. And that's a wrap of all of the questions that we have had. What we're going to do next week, James, so people know what they can look forward to.
We'll probably have a little bit more of a kind of breakdown. We've got 8 weeks. Well, it's not 8 weeks. It's 7 weeks worth of data. So I'll probably have a little bit more of a drill into some of the data stuff, look a bit further ahead in terms of team breakdowns and fixtures and entry points perhaps nearer the end, because we are certainly at a point now that if you haven't had a transfer plan, certainly over the course of this international break, with this period over kind of 8 match weeks, if you will, you should have a plan now where you can see the end date, where you should be in a position where you're starting to think, I know that's going to be my last transfer. Mm-hmm. That sort of plan should be coming into place.
Cool. Sounds good. I hope you're enjoying your Sky Fantasy football season. If you are an avid Sky player and you enjoy the game, then you will have heard us talk about James's planner that he uses and shares with all of our patrons. You may want to join our Patreon, patreon.com/Planet FPL. There's also a very active Slack channel where you can talk to other engaged Sky managers as well.
And unengaged.
Indeed, true. Other than that, stay safe. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Play it your way. Be nice to each other. Cue music, please, man child.